the god of the hunt, gives his assessment, as his servants help clean up. It's the favorite drink in this world, so there's no sense in letting all of it go to waste. I'm moving swiftly through this panel to get to the main topic of the week. Here's another opportunity for transparency on this project. I've been avoiding the subject of chimeras. They've been watching from the sidelines this whole time, and have been trying to avoid making eye contact. They are a potent ingredient, and I worried they would be too much to handle. However, after discussing the metaphysics of talking dragons, and the last video about human breeding programs creating mythological archetypes, I think it's finally time for me to stare down chimeras. To quickly define the term, I'm using the word chimera to refer to any single organism with more than one creature's genetics in the mix. There are too many stories, legends, and myths across eras and cultures to ignore. These creatures are an inseparable part of the antediluvian conversation. After over a year of world building, I think I now have a sturdy foundation. I can apprehend what this setting can be. With that foundation, I can safely explore the subject of chimeras without them overpowering the mix. Just like the twisted mythological humans, I can treat them like a spice to be sprinkled on when needed. As a reminder, I'm referencing the Bible as my primary source, but I'm exploring a wide range of secondary texts as well. My main criteria for secondary material is that they are visually spectacular and they don't contradict anything from the primary text. To address this subject with a nod towards being reasonable, I think it helps to talk about the means, motive, and opportunity behind the addition of chimeras. For means, in this world, angels had a front row seat at the creation of the universe. Some of these beings were assigned to oversee different territories of the earth. They have incredible power and a deep understanding of the underlying secrets of creation, from the equations that balance the heavens, to the harnessing and application of energy, to the principles of created life forms, and much, much more. They undeniably have the means to deeply affect the world. For motive, these watchers are powerful beings given massive oversight over creation, and yet the crown went to Adam. That God placed his image and authority in a vessel so small, so limited, was the highest possible slight against them. They would be highly motivated to pay back that cosmic insult. Which leads to opportunity. Humans still inhabit a territory the Watchers oversee. Firstly, they can create their own mockery of life. Their gigantic offspring, the Nephilim, are an immediate source of oppression over humanity. Secondly, they offered mankind their secret knowledge of creation in the hopes that gifting them powers beyond their understanding would lead to the defacing and ultimately the destruction of the Creator's unworthy favorites. As I said in the last video, they had the opportunity to hand loaded guns to toddlers and teach them everything except safety rules. These means, motive, and opportunity point to a grand unifying theory of dead gods. The Watchers lash out at creation to spite their creator. Every design will be influenced by this concept in some form or another. Now, I don't like to design arbitrarily. Drawing 50 different versions of something is just spinning the wheel of aesthetics until you have a gut reaction. You can find cool stuff that way, but then you're building your foundations on the shifting sands of mood and preference. If you take the time to find the right principles, you'll be forced to design things in a specific way. Then, when questioned about your choices, you can slam your massive stack of reasons down on the table and end the conversation right there. You can also quickly and easily add or expand based on the same principles, confident that everything will remain cohesive, rather than looking different based on whatever cool thing you saw yesterday. So, to create a system that can find a logical place for most mythological creatures, here's what I'm building. There will be a scale of how much genetic mixture comprises a creature, and that will be tied to the methods used to create it. Starting with what you've been watching, infusion. Take a human and give them regular treatments of a creature's blood, mixed with a cocktail of Watcher-prescribed ingredients, and it will give them physical and aesthetic characteristics of that creature. This would be the least transformative option, and would still be on a sliding scale of impact, from subtle to obvious, depending on the doses used. This category would also be the most common. In this case, this person is being infused with the properties of a snake. As the transformation becomes more and more extreme, we land in the territory of the lizard people. All of the chimeras can be possessed by disembodied Nephilim spirits, which, over time, can start to influence their coloration. With infusion, there's a significant chance that the process can go wrong. 1/3 of the people who attempt it become permanently deformed. While this could be improved, the Watchers don't really see it as a negative. Next up, we have a different technique: grafting. In this case, creatures have parts added or replaced. Unlike infusion, which can diminish somewhat over time, this is a permanent change. It would exist on a sliding scale as well, from replacing smaller body parts, to heads, to attaching the whole torso to another creature's body. This process would involve an intensive ritual that would, to us, look vaguely like surgery, but performed as a grand pagan ceremony. Having witnessed the creation of organic life, the Watchers have a deeper understanding of how it works. They can perform operations that to us would look like magic, but are actually the result of a level of knowledge and skill that are still a millennia away from modern medicine. Of course, these are delicate ceremonies that, despite their advanced skill, still have a high probability of failure. The Nephilim see most bodies as potential vessels to inhabit, so these rare transplanted bodies are seen as an investment. While the final product is intended to be a living act of vandalism, they still want them to be useful frames. This category would be more rare. Something I'm experimenting with here is using Turing patterns to mark the transition between the grafted elements. It's a visual shorthand to imply a more advanced magical surgery technique that goes beyond cutting and sewing parts together. This particular character would be referred to as a cynocephalus, a dog-headed man. Eastern Orthodox Christians particularly tell the story of the martyr Saint Christopher. Part of a tribe of giant dog-headed men, he sought to serve only the strongest master, which led him ultimately to Christ, symbolizing that even the most monstrous can be redeemed. One important note about the processes of infusion and grafting is that while many people would be forced to go through these transformations against their will, there are also a lot of volunteers. The antediluvian world is terrifying. You can never turn your back on another human. There's gigantic fauna stalking the land. Tyrannical giants will enslave or kill you for fun. People need every advantage they can get, and they're willing to take the risk. Now, this next category is different because humans won't have access to this one. Sub-Nephilim. The Watchers took human wives and they gave birth to the giant Nephilim. However, Watchers are not bound to physical bodies in the same way humans or even their own offspring are. The way they appear can be adjusted as needed. Their natural resting state is intimidating. In some circumstances, they can disguise themselves as men. If needed, they can take the form of creatures. The offspring of these fallen angels and humans are themselves giant insults to the Creator's design. When offspring are created with creatures other than mankind, the results don't bear that same image and are therefore lesser than their half-siblings. They are still half-angelic, which makes them a huge problem. The outcomes of these pairings are also far less predictable. This is the category that is most likely to lead to snake men, giant serpents with human faces, werewolves, sphinxes. The possibilities are endless. The last category is creature hybrids. These mixtures aren't constrained to just humans. Sometimes creatures can be mixed to create new variations as weapons or deterrents, or sometimes just because they're bored and want to create something horrible. This is the category that gives us manticores, griffins, and other animal hybrids. And since this is the antediluvian era, this manticore is a combination of saber-toothed tiger, pterosaur, and scorpion. While not officially categories, two important modifiers to remember are that these can all be performed on Nephilim as well as humans. They can also be possessed by Nephilim spirits. When either of these happen, their danger and effectiveness increase dramatically. And with that, we have a rough system in place for the careful addition of chimeras to the world of dead gods. In the next video, I'll take some time to run different animals through this system and see what kinds of creatures come out the other side. At the time of this recording, my Dragon Tier patrons are voting on which animals they'd most like to see added to the Chimera chart. The idea that the Fallen Watchers and their Nephilim children had the means, motive, and opportunity to twist mankind into flesh and blood mockeries of the image of God is too potent to pass up. Furthermore, the idea that the enduring spirits of the Nephilim, which have lurked in our shadows for millennia, would remember those living insults well and use their images to torment us throughout history is a possibility too fascinating not to explore. Thanks for watching.